Alright, so hopefully in a quick tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to make a navigation bar using HTML and CSS3. Some properties from that to make it do this cool like fade in highlighting thing and then slow fade out unhighlighting thing. And if you're good through this whole thing, which I know you will be, I'll have a present for you at the end. So that's exciting. I'm excited. I hope you're excited. So let's get into it. Alright, so I went ahead and made this image here in Photoshop. It's called a sprite image, so it's going to contain all of our button images and the highlight images in the same image. And this helps, like sometimes when you go to a website, you mouse over a navigation bar and it blinks for a second. It blinks out. It's because they didn't use a sprite image, and the hover state of the image loads right when you mouse over it the first time, so it looks kind of stupid and unprofessional and all that jazz. So use a sprite, and that will make it load faster. So this is some of the HTML that I made for the example, which we will be writing up in a second. Pretty easy, pretty basic stuff. This is the navigation right there, really easy. And this is our style sheet. A little bit more going on here, still not complicated though, and I'll explain that and we will start writing that. Okay, so let's start with making a new, let's do HTML first. Just a blank HTML sheet, and let's change the title here to navigation bar, like that. And let's save it into a folder here. I'll name this index2.html. I already have this set up with my server, so it's going to upload the files to my server. If you don't have a server, then you should get one. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to really test. I mean, I guess you could. I guess you could just open this up in a browser and it would work as long as you have all of the files in the same folder. But yeah, that's for another day maybe, but maybe not. Let's make another CSS document. Create that. So you created the style sheet, so we're going to file, save as, and we will do style2.css. You can name it whatever you want. Alright, let's go back over to the HTML and link the style sheet in the header, which is between this tag and this tag. So this area, we will write this link real equals style sheet, and type is going to be text/CSS, and then we get a link to it, hyperreference, and it is just style2.css, and then finish it. Okay, so now we've linked the style sheet, which is right here, to our document. And if you don't do this, then it's not going to style it. And you'll be like, what's going on? And it's happened a lot before. I've started working on a website and I didn't link the style sheet, and I couldn't figure out why things weren't working. It's because I wasn't working, honestly. So, yeah. Alright, next we're going to go into the body tags, which are right here. And we're going to make a containing div for the navigation bar. So, whoops, div, we have to give it an ID, do main nav, close that, down. Alright, now we're going to create an unordered list, but what I like to do within, to kind of keep things structured and stuff in HTML and make it easier to go back and see what's going on, if you indent inside of each tag, it makes it easier. So now let's do UL for unordered list, And close that. Bring it down to a new line. Tab. Now we're going to create the list items. So that's li. Give this an ID of home. Close that out. And then we're going to add a link inside of it. That's href. Just put it in the root. And then close that right there. End it. And then, so the area between here, between where the tag opens and where the tag ends, is where your link text would be if the image didn't already have the link text in it. And then the H reference is where the links to. So this could be like /facebook.com. Or not, you wouldn't be slash, it would just be facebook.com. So then if they clicked on it, they would go to Facebook. But this is going to put it, so it goes to the root of our site, which would be the home. And within the link name, we're going to do a span tag. Span. And then we'll write home. So this is going to allow us to make the text disappear at some point, which we'll get to that later. Now what I like to do to simplify things is to copy this and paste it on a new line and just change the things that are different. Like this is going to be about. We can keep it going in the same place right now because it doesn't matter. For this example, change the link name to about. Alright, so now we have our unordered list, and it's going to look something like this if we save this. So we have this list. It's really boring, but it's going to turn into this in a moment. Well, in more than a minute. We'll see how long it takes. I'm not sure, I haven't timed it out yet. So we've got these bullets here, which are not cool. We want to get rid of those. So let us minimize this and go to our style sheet. And when you have an ID, an object with an ID, such as this div right here, and the LIs have IDs also, you're going to put a number sign in front of it. So we named that main nav. So it's going to be number sign, main nav, number symbol. I don't know what you call that. Number sign just sounds elementary. Alright, and then bracket, close bracket. The container is going to be used to like position the navigation later on. Like if you're building a website and you need to position it differently, this will make it so you can position it. Right now I'll just put the width auto and the height auto. So the width and height of this box essentially is going to be determined by what's inside of it. You can even give it like position relative. Since we have the unordered list inside the main nav, it also helps with keeping things organized. And if you have more than one list on a page, then you have to give them like specific names and stuff like that. But if it's nested inside of this div, so we can just use that name. So if we do main nav space, space UL, then we can control the list this way. So the first thing we're going to do is get rid of those bullets. So to do that, you use the attribute list style and put that to none. So when we save this, you're going to see the bullets disappear. Voila! Alright, so we're going to set the margin to 0 and padding to 0 also. When we save that, you'll see that this is going to shift over this way. Like that. Because now there's nothing pushing it aside like the bullets were. This is vertical, and we want a horizontal navigation like this way. So what we're going to do is float each of the list items so they float to the left of each other. So we'll do the same main nav. We'll do li this time. Whoops, I didn't add, not a pound, that's what it is. It's pound. Do pound instead of number symbol, because that sounds stupid. Alright, so we're going to do float left. You can write HTML and CSS in just a plain text writer, but Dreamweaver and programs like that give you code hints and stuff, so it just makes things quicker. If you just start typing something, then it'll fill it in for you. So it just makes it faster workflow. So that's all we need to do in the main nav, li. Now we're going to style the links, which would be main nav lia. We want it to display block. Again, if you're unfamiliar with CSS stuff, displaying block will make it so that whatever the width and height that you set, which we're about to do, will be like a block that you click on the whole block instead of just the letters. So it makes it more of a button-y. So we're going to set the width. The width of these buttons is 125 pixels wide. And the height is 34 pixels tall. Alright, so this is setting each of the links to be the same width and height. I don't know if I saved it. I didn't. Now when I save it, when I go back and save, you will see that these are all pushed horizontally and have a lot of space in between them because it's the width of each button. Alright, and let's add the span that we put inside the link. So main nav lia span. We're not going to do anything with this yet, otherwise it'll make it difficult to see what's going on. Next, we're going to start styling each of the actual buttons themselves. So number home. Alright, so here's the problem with the CSS3 transition. You can't just transition the background. Like if we did this, home A, background. We did URL nav.jpg, no repeat, 0 pixels, 0 pixels. Alright, so these last two pixel values are for the sprite. So all of our images for each link is in this one image. So we have X and Y coordinates. Right now the first image is 0 and 0. So this will tell the browser what part of the image to show. Okay, so now we have our home button. You still have the home text up there, but we'll keep that there for right now. Now the problem with the transition is that, let's say I put let's close this. So now I'm going to do home A hover, and let me paste in this background. Now since the image is twice as tall as each button, to get to that the hover part of the button, you would subtract the height, which is 34, because the whole image is 68. So we're going to do minus 34. Alright, so when we refresh it and we hover over it, it's going to put the little light on there, but it's not fading. This one's nice and smooth, fading, wonderful. The problem that we're going to run into here in a second is we're going to add the transition, which you have to add them for each browser. So we're going to do Moz transition. Oh, whoops. Yeah, okay. Moz transition background. So this is the property that's going to be changed, And now we're going to do how fast it's going to happen. So we're going to do 500 milliseconds. And type of transition is linear. It's kind of annoying because each of the browsers has their own thing, but it doesn't change at all from the standard. So kind of dumb, I think, personally. Wish they would just standardize it and each browser would comply to the standard, but you know, I'm just a web developer, so MS and do this transition. All right, so we're gonna need this to be, when it hovers, when you hover over it, it's gonna transition the background from this to this over a period of 500 milliseconds. Now, save that so you can see what I'm talking about. The problem is it's going to just shift the image instead of fading, like this, which that doesn't work. And then when you mouse out of it, it doesn't do anything. It just goes back to the way it was. So you always need to put the transition where it starts also. So now it's going to transition this, when you hover over it, it's going to transition from this, from this to this. And then when you mouse out, it's going to transition from this to this over however much time this is right here. So you'll see now it's going to kind of like bounce back. Which, I mean, that could be an effect you're looking for, but most people aren't, and I know I'm not. So to make it fade like this, we're going to have to do a little trickiness. We can keep this stuff here for a second. On home, we're going to add opacity. Let's add that to 0. So the link initially will have you won't be able to see it. It'll be transparent. And then under hover, we'll delete the background and just put opacity and set it to 1. So it's fully opaque, so it's fully visible. Now we need to change the transition property to opacity. And we're adding this plain transition because that's the standard. So once the standard is finalized and all the browsers comply with it, you'll just use this transition and all browsers will support it, hopefully. Except Internet Explorer probably, because it sucks. Do it here as well. Alright, and then we're also going to make above the home A just a plain old home. This. And we're going to set this background to, let's copy this, what the A is right now. And then we're going to change the A so that it's the hover state, which would be minus 34. All right. So essentially what this is doing is this is the container, the list item for the link. So its background is going to be the normal state. And then we have a link, which is inside of this container, which in its normal state is invisible. But when you hover over it, it reveals it. When we hover over it, it's going to fade in and fade out at 500 milliseconds. Oh! All right, so now let's set up the rest of them. And what I like to do is copy everything that I wrote and paste it, and then change what I need to change. So we're going to change this to about, and this to about, and this to about. And then we're going to have to shift the image over. So that'll be, since it's 125 pixels wide, that means we have to shift it over 125 pixels, which we're going to do minus 125. Copy that and paste it in these two places. And we should see the about. Voila! Now the about does it also. Beautiful. And yeah, so we'll do the rest of them. Videos. Videos. This is probably pretty boring, but you know, life's boring sometimes. Alright, so we'll add 125 to this, which would be 250. Same with this one. And we'll see that. Like this. Works. Alright, so now you can see I have all of them up there. And you just keep adding 125 pixels, or whatever the width of your link is, to get to the next image. When we hover over it, it reveals the link, the actual link text. Now to get rid of that, we made that span, the span tag, which is up here. And we're just going to change that to display none. So that's going to make those disappear. And there we go. That's pretty much it. Since you guys were so good, and I promised I would give you something at the end of this, I'm going to give you this. I'm going to give you the PSD, the Photoshop document for the navigation bar. And it's a link in the description of this video. So if you already looked at that, then the surprise is ruined, and it's your fault that you ruined the surprise. And I'm a little mad at you, but I think you've already suffered enough for ruining the surprise. Yeah, so I've added a color picker, so you can change it to whatever color you want it to be. Oh, so pretty. You can change the saturation, so it can be like really colorful. Oh, you can have a nice orangey brownish thing going on there. There's some orange right there. And to change each link text, just change it like this. But you want it to be the same. So I'm going to copy this like that. So there you go. You can customize it and use it on your website if you'd like. And if you need more than 4 links, you could always just pull it out here, use the crop tool, add some space, and then duplicate the group and name it whatever you want, whatever the button's going to be, and just drag it over, line it up, and change the wording, and then crop it again. Voila.